Well, hello and welcome to this channel, a channel that I am doing for a friend. But if anyone else wishes to watch or anyone else learns from this channel, then that is a good thing. This first video is World War II. Okay, there's going to be three playlists, one focusing on the equipment, armour of World War II aircraft shipping. The second one is going to be an order of battle playlist where I will list individual campaigns and go through the strengths and weaknesses of the various countries' combatants. And indeed, the main part, which is going to be a full breakdown of World War II from start to finish. And that is the focus of this first video. Okay, what we are going to do is go through the final moves before the commencement of World War II. Okay, we'll start in October 1938, okay, when German troops begin to occupy the Sudetenland. Okay, operation had been prepared, in the minutes, details months before, an obvious proof that the Sudetens, were always going to be occupied by Hitler, even though Hitler had made a pact with Neville Chamberlain, that Chamberlain proclaimed peace in our time. Chamberlain left that meeting and Hitler referred to him as something along the lines of a little worm and unworthy to lead the great British Empire. Now, on March 1939, okay, Slovakia, okay, a pro-German Slovakian leader declared independence from the Czech Republic and named themselves as coming under the protection of Nazi Germany. And also in mid-March, okay, German troops finally crossed the Czech frontier. Okay, Hitler proclaims the Protectorate of Bohemia and Moravia, and the Czechoslovak Republic officially ceases to exist and is absorbed into Greater Germany. Now, a few days later, okay, Neville Chamberlain reacts, making out basically that Hitler had broken his pledge. I mean, all of us could have seen that coming. Hitler was not very well known. Once he had no fear or respect for you, then you could guarantee that Hitler would not adhere to any agreement. Now, also in March, okay, Germany renewed its demands on Poland. The demands were, okay, the restoration of to Germany of Danzig, okay, the Danzig corridor that Hitler used, okay, as a preamble to launch World War II against Poland. So the restoration of the corridor of Danzig, okay, and an agreement to a railroad being constructed between Germany and Prussia, okay, and the free flow of equipment supplies down that railway. Now, the third one was Hitler wanted guarantees from Poland that the long-term territorial ambitions he had in the Danzig corridor would be respected. Now, towards the end of March, Poland once again refused the German demands. They were not just going to allow their country to be carved up by Adolf Hitler, especially as he'd shown with Czech Republic that he couldn't entirely be trusted. Now, at the end of March, okay, France and Britain announced in a joint declaration that they will guarantee the independence and integrity of Poland's borders against any aggression. So this was the moment where France and Britain officially announced that any attack on Poland would constitute a declaration of war against Germany by the Allied powers. Now, in April, okay, Russian Minister Maxim Litvinov proposed an Anglo-Russian talk, okay, to try and smooth things over. Now, also in April, okay, to counterbalance the Germans, Italian troops thus begin to occupy Albania. And also in April, okay, France and Britain guarantee independence and territorial integrity of Greece and Romania. Now, of course, Romania in the war would later join the German side, which we will get to going through the war. Now, on April 15th, okay, President Roosevelt of America invited Hitler and Mussolini to give an assurance they will not attack a whole list of countries that Roosevelt named for at least 10 years. And as we know, that can go by the wayside again. Hitler didn't really have any fear of America at the moment. They were too distant, they were too far. The Royal Navy was still the most powerful navy in the world. Even the Americans feared the Royal Navy. So Hitler didn't really feel any pressure from America and could ignore those overtures from President Roosevelt. Now, let us go through some more effects on this first video, and then part 2 will be the introduction of the war, September 1st, 1939. Now, also in April, okay, Litvinov proposed a 10-year alliance between Britain, France, and the USSR. Now, of course, due to the events in the war, they would end up being allied much sooner in that time period. Now, Hitler celebrates, okay, his 50th birthday on April 20th and launched the most lavish military parade ever seen on German soil. And also towards the end of April, Neville Chamberlain announces conscription. Okay, conscription to begin with the first people called in July of that year. Also, towards the end of April, speaking in the Reichstag, Hitler denounces the 10-year non-aggression pact signed with Poland in 1934 and the agreement to which the two countries undertook to seek a peaceful solution to Danzig question, and goes on to demand the cessation of the Free City to Germany of Danzig. Hitler also rejects Roosevelt's proposal. Well, no big surprise there. Now, also in May, on the Polish question, Hitler tells all his generals that they do not need to expect a repetition of the affair of Czechoslovakia. This time you shall have your way. So basically Hitler already in May was telling his generals, you will have the war that you want. You will get what you want. Now, also in May, France and Britain, try to talk to the USSR to sign an alliance with Poland, but frankly, there's a lot of distrust there between Poland and Russia anyway. And as we know, Russia will eventually jump into the war with Poland, as we'll cover on the World War II breakdown, to annex a pre-arranged set of territory in conjunction with Germany. I'll give the details of that deal in further videos. Also in July, some 250 British aircraft take part in training in flights over France. So everything is building up to the war. Now, in August, towards the end of August, the Western powers tried to conjure up some sort of reply to the German success. Great Britain converts the unilateral guarantee given to Poland on 31st of March, jointly with France, into a formal alliance. So this means that if any aggression is launched by Germany against Poland, France and Britain will consider themselves at war. That was sorted out by the end of August. Now, also towards the end of August, approaches by the British and French ambassadors in Berlin, Sir Neville Henderson and Robert Colondre, letters to Hitler from Chamberlain and Daladier, under pressure by the two statesmen to induce the Polish government to negotiate, are all to no avail. So as we can see, all the final political moves, people are jostling. France and Britain have tried getting the USSR to sign a pact with Poland. Hitler's telling his generals that you will have your way this time. You will not be quiet observers. You'll be able to use your military power against Poland. And that was in May, months before the war actually began. So at the end of August, again through the medium at British ambassador in Berlin, Hitler named an ultimatum. Poland must send an emissary to German capital by 30th of August to settle the question on the Danzig corridor and the conditions that Hitler had laid down in his three-point plan to the Polish nation in regards to the corridor of Danzig and Hitler reconnecting up with East Prussia. So basically, expecting an immediate attack, all Polish air units leave the airports on which they were dispersed and move to operational airfields. So basically, the Polish Air Force goes onto a war footing. For the same reason, destroyers at Polish Navy are ordered to sail to Great Britain. That's at the end of August. And the final day before the war, to give formal satisfaction to Mussolini, who's been pressing, among other things, for calling off of an international conference to avert the war, the Führer agrees to receive the Polish ambassador, Lipski, in Berlin. Neither side is prepared to listen. The talks only last a few minutes, and then the Germans announce that their generous offer has been turned down by the Poles. So their terms and conditions for the Danzig corridor have been rejected. The meeting between Hitler and Lipski takes place in late afternoon, and at 9 p.m. that night, Ribbentrop sends a note to British and French ambassadors reporting that Poles refused to table proposals 7 hours earlier in the early afternoon, and the Fuhrer has already signed the order for the assault on Poland. The hour is set at 4:45 a.m. on the following day, September 1st. Now, the final act before the war is the Germans manufacture a false flag attack. The radio station at Glenwitz was attacked and briefly occupied by Polish raiders, but sadly these Polish raiders were German security forces dressed up as Polish troops. They take over the radio station, hurl many insults, anti-German insults, over the radio for the German people to hear before pulling back. But frankly, this move was not needed. Hitler and his generals were all set for 4:45 a.m. in the next morning to launch officially World War II. The peaceful annexation of territories in Europe was over, and Hitler was ready, especially with his land forces, to pursue his territorial ambitions via combat. So in part 2, we will jump to the beginning of the Second World War, September 1st, and the invasion and destruction of the Polish state as a whole. I'm out for now.